Hello, hello. Welcome, Caleb. Wow, thank you for being on this chat today. Hey,
Thanks,
Caleb
Brenda, for
Mo,
having me.
as the brand coach. Yeah, wow, it's such my privilege to have you on this chat. And I know you're so busy, especially during this period. And I think many people are actually coming to you to, for personal rebranding, which is something very interesting that I want to talk about in today's session.
Hmm.
Yeah. So allow me to quickly introduce Caleb to everyone who's tuning in. Now, Caleb is a millennial and who has crafted out a business on redefining what personal branding is. So he is actually a self-employed young millennial who's created his own business, a private limited right now. Okay, he's also a consultant, coach, and trainer, in fact, to corporate directors, salespersons, schools even, and more, right? That's really impressive, yeah? So he has an amazing gift, okay? He has an amazing gift and actually helping helping prospects fall in love with you and your business so that you can influence, inspire, and impact lives. And also for some of you tuning in, all right? Now, if you are new to starting a business or you're just in your business, right? Caleb actually helps you to turn your business from someone no one really knows about you, right, to someone who's known, an influencer, and so that you can attract better prospects, yeah, more quality leads via social media to your business. Sounds really exciting, right? And of course, one thing you got to know about Caleb, all right, his personal trademark, if you ever see him, it is, you cannot miss this out, yeah, it is curry pop hairstyle. Okay, well, so thank you so much, Caleb, for being on this set with us, and I'm sure you have a lot of gems to share with our audience today.
No, thanks for having me, Brenda. I look forward to just seeing what value I can share with you and your community.
Okay, great. Now, so we talk about personal branding, yeah? Maybe even before that, can you share a little bit with us, like what led you into going into a business about redefining personal branding? I mean, that is so rare. Who would think of that? People usually relate personal branding with, Prada, LV, brands like that, right? So what's really personal branding too?
Well, if I were to tell you that I was very clear from day one that I wanted to do personal branding and I left my corporate job to jump into this field and I succeeded from day one, I think I can honestly, we all can agree that I am lying to you because why that rarely happens in most businesses. When I left my corporate job, and I left for many push factors, in fact, that's a whole story for another day, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I was unmotivated at work. I was very bad in my job actually, in the corporate world. I was always one of the worst performers in my job. So after 4.5 years of being one of the worst performers, right, it kind of takes a toll on your psyche.
Okay.
And I think after I left my job, I told myself I would do my own thing as a consultant, as a trainer. And it took me about 6 months to decide that I will be an image consultant for men. 6 months. So I was doing nothing the entire time. And once I became an image consultant for men, yes, I was helping some of my friends for free and did amazing work with them. But I think deep down inside me, I've always felt that I never really, although I like to dress well, I like my clients to groom well, I was never really into the whole vanity element. To me, it's
Right.
all about influence. It's all about how people perceive you. How can they see you as an authority? Just like that. But I couldn't somehow convey that in image consulting. So
I see.
after about another year of trying to get clients and I didn't get any, I was on the brink of giving up already. On the brink of giving up. So it was November 2017. My CPF ran dry. My wife has been the sole breadwinner for a year and a half. For me, doing work means I watched a Tony Robbins video followed by an e-course that I paid thousands of dollars for, and that was it. And I told myself, you know what, this is not working out. I have to give up. What I did was that even though everyone knew me as an image consultant, no one asked for my services, and I was ready to walk the walk of shame of when they found out that I am back in the full-time job. I was ready for that. So what I did was I took out my resume again, I filled it up, I submitted it to many companies, and here's what happened. None of the companies came back to me.
Oh no, that's so sad, right?
None of them came back to me. So in fact, my last drawn pay in the corporate world was about 3.7K, and I was going for jobs that offering 2.2, 2.5K. Yeah, and even then, none of them wanted to hire me. So you're left with this very dire situation. And this realization is was scary. This realization was that I was 31 years old. I had 4.5 years of corporate experience, and I'm a degree holder, but I am unhireable. So because of that, that's the reason why I'm still self-employed and an entrepreneur today. If not, I would have easily jumped back into the field. So fast forward 2 months later, I went for this workshop called Super Brand Me by Eugene Xia. He's a very good friend of mine today.
Right.
And I went in as an image consultant. I went out of that program as a perception strategist, right? So it's like, Caleb, whatever I'm hearing from you, you are not an image consultant. You are a perception strategist. And I went, whoa! So suddenly this light bulb moment just came, for the first time in my business career, and I realized that the word perception suited me so much better because I don't really care about the external dressing. It's important, yes, but it's not the full spectrum.
Right.
So once the word perception came into my own new branding, I realized I could do so much more. How you walk, how you talk, how you dress, how you position yourself on social media, and that was really the beginning. January 2018 of me entering the personal branding industry. Right? So it's been about 2 years and a quarter since that day, and here I am today.
Right. So what I'm taking away is it is so powerful that, just through defining your message, it's like your brand, like what do you really stand for? You just needed that inside you, right, to make a change. And that's really what I call personal branding.
That was personal branding to me without even realizing that it was personal branding.
Right.
It was so personal that it opened up new opportunities that I could have never seen before. Yeah.
I see. So, with this COVID situation, times have changed. Yeah, I mean, like, we're going to spend a lot more time at home, or at least interaction via online. Okay, it's going to take for months. In fact, I think, and we need to find new ways to stand out, to be found, to be engaged, or even to be hired, right? So, do you consider that personal branding will be really relevant and very key, especially during such times? And, if I'm an employee, or even business owner, is it something that's very relevant and something that I really have to look into?
So this is what I would have told my clients before February, before things got big in Singapore, that personal branding is absolutely crucial. You need to be able to stand out in the crowd, because since the past 2-3 years, people are getting sick and tired of the next guru, the next attractive headline. People are getting sick and tired of it. So as a result, you need to brand yourself, because branding is absolutely crucial. Ever since we entered February, as businesses began to realize that, okay, crap, I cannot serve my clients face to face anymore. More businesses started to enter the online space. So as a result, a lot of social media users, they begin to see more and more sales-related posts. They begin to see a lot of internet marketers trying to come in right now, a lot of trainers trying to come in, a lot of realtors, financial agents are trying to come in, because why? Meeting people was just getting harder and harder. So before January, personal branding is absolutely crucial. From February onwards, personal branding needs to be that baseline that you need to have already. That's the base expectation that you require to have. Otherwise, it's kind of like going to hospital. You see, there's many posters reminding you not to fall down, or to patient safety, But the more posters they put up there, visual fatigue happens. So our attention span just drops. Yeah. So this is exactly what's happening on social media. We need to be very intentional about how we position ourselves and to our target audience, so that they love us. They love us, and then we stop fighting for their attention.
Right. Yeah. Now, can I play a little simple scenario with you here? Assuming if I'm an employee, okay? I'm an employee and I'm kind of stressed, can't really find a job. I wonder if you're able to give any simple tips, or at least to walk us through briefly, so that we have an idea, how as an employee is even able to use personal branding to actually help us. Because I think this is something that can be quite new to many people out there.
Yes, yeah. I agree. So maybe if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to an employee, it is important for personal branding could perhaps help them find a job. could perhaps find them a better salary, or perhaps allow them to be headhunted even though they don't need to be headhunted, and they probably could feel more desired, you know, and that could even give them more game in negotiations. Would that be fair to say that's what employees could be looking for?
Yes.
Right. So maybe a good example to share was back in my experience when I was invited as a VVIP for the Alibaba Convention last year.
Wow.
And during that time there, I was in meetings with, I went there with Skip Singapore and National Youth Council, and I was in the meetings with the Vice President of Ant Financial, as well as the HR Director of Alibaba Group, right? And we were talking about the international exchange program that Alibaba has to bring in international talents into their system, into their program, right? And during the discussion, they mentioned these 7 key traits they were looking for people who fit into the Alibaba ecosystem. Why? Because initially they tried to hire the best. They hired your MBAs from Harvard, from the top schools. They hired your former lawyers, and they found that although they were the best brains, they couldn't adapt to the Alibaba culture. So as a result, they scrapped the entire system. They started to look for anyone who is willing to put in the hard work and shows potential. They will groom them to fit into the Alibaba culture. So perhaps rather than tell people, okay, what must you do as an employee, maybe I could just share what is a company like Alibaba Group looking for. And perhaps that would be a very good base parameter of how to position ourselves. I think it might be more meaningful. So the first thing that Alibaba is looking for is open-mindedness. Okay? If you show you're open-minded and you're not just fixed in one singular way, you got a very good chance of going into their program. Secondly is adaptiveness. So how do you respond to sudden changes? In a big MNC like Alibaba Group, they consist of many small companies, so they can adapt very quickly. If you're not ready for that, you may not be a good fit. Third is humility, right? They don't care about your rank. It doesn't matter. It's how you treat people that matters more. You must be a problem solver. Many problems will occur every single day. You must be excited to solve them. Next is resilience, because you're expected to work 12 to 16 hours a day in order to rise up, because that's expected in the start of a career. If you don't have the resilience, please join a smaller firm that gives you more welfare. You know, next is multilingual, because the world demands this, and you'll be a better asset. And lastly, the 7th one is excellence, which means you having a very high benchmark in the quality of your work. So I think it'd be fair to say that most companies today will also try to look for very similar traits in an individual. Right? So in a sense, if I were an employee, and knowing that many companies are looking for these traits here, my first question I will ask myself, if I want to brand myself, is, as I network with people face to face, as I share my knowledge on social media, how can I display each of these 7 traits at any one time? How can I very intentionally display any of these traits at any one time? So personal branding is wonderful because why? If you meet these 7 traits, good for you. You will shine very naturally, very effortlessly. And if you find that you don't, then personal branding makes you realize that, oh, these are my gaps. Maybe I'm not resilient enough. I need to find ways to grow my resilience so that I can portray this in front of my future employers. So that's one thing I like about personal branding. It's not a magical tool that makes you famous and everyone will worship you. To me, it's very simple. It shines your strength and it also reveals your weaknesses. And that's the beauty of this term called personal branding. So if I was to just summarize everything I said,
yes,
if you are an employee, social media is going to be very powerful, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn and even IG, to show that you portray these qualities, right? So if you do, reflect these qualities on social media so that people can better appreciate your real worth. Yeah, they need your help to appreciate your worth. So that's the one thing I'll be very intentional if I were to be an employee who wants to get the attention of my ideal employers.
Wow, this is really amazing. I love how you mention shine your strength, you know, relating to personal branding. Yeah, and also I think it's so amazing to help people to understand through these traits that Alibaba looks for,
Yeah,
really to see where are your gaps to fill, you know, at this juncture, and how can you practice that resilience, you know, and especially taking this time right now, whether it's to upgrade, rescale, to catch
mm,
on those gaps, or at least, you know, work with you to help to see how do they build that up.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's really, really key. Wow. Okay, so quick question, right?
Right.
Now, who comes to your mind in terms of a stellar personal branders? Anyone comes to you, or that you really like in terms of personal branding?
Ah, very good question. I think when we talk about personal brand, the same few names would come to mind. For example, for the women, they adore Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres. When it
Mhm.
comes to, say, people in the tech space, it'd be the late Steve Jobs. And I mean, Steve Jobs, we all agree that he is Apple, because why? He shouts out the Apple brand through even the way he dresses and the way he portrays himself in front of the media. Right? He's this very simple, very relatable person who is a little bit, he's pretty cool, right? Although he's a devil in his company, right? He demands, he'll throw tables, smash a glass, everything like that. But he conveys this other side of him, which is still him, to the
Mhm.
media, and that is an extension of the Apple brand. So to me, these are people who have nailed down the their brand really well. They know who are their audience, they know the essence of their message, they know their own natural energy, and they convey it very intentionally. But then there's also a problem here, because why? If you look at the best brands, uh, personal brands in the world,
Mhm.
many of us go like, yeah lah, that's them lah, you know, they have millions of dollars, billions of dollars, they have cameras following them everywhere, and they just have a much easier job. So I tend to avoid using these A-star examples, because it could be very intimidating for somebody just starting out. One, if I were to choose somebody whose personal brand stood out to me the most, it was from somebody who is probably unknown to majority of the world. And if I were to walk past him on the street, I wouldn't even know he is there. And this happened when I was a judge for a startup competition, for a China ASEAN startup competition.
Okay.
And there was this team, and they had an amazing project that helps foreign workers in India and Bangladesh who are in the construction line across the world. And this app allows them to have access to an education, even though they're in the construction line and they're hard at work. And that's the basis of what they do, you know. And when the team came up to present, it was just this guy who looked a bit serious, incredibly shy. Um, he was wearing a loose t-shirt, unfitted pants, and regular shoes, and he wore a cap. He wore a baseball cap. For goodness sake, you're pitching to go to the finals where you have access to multi-billion-dollar MNCs to invest in you, and you're wearing a freaking hat, a cap. You know, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is he doing? And then he took the mic and he spoke. When he spoke, I felt this charisma, gentle charisma that came out of him. It was non-cocky, it was highly attractive, and his tone was gentle and full of care. And you realize that as he shared in this caring tone, it matched the brand of his company that aims to really reach out to the construction workers who really need help. He conveyed so much empathy in the way he spoke that he suddenly stood out to me amongst all the other presenters, and his cap makes it even harder to forget him.
Right.
And this is the ideal of personal branding. It's not just about putting on a good show, because why? Anybody who trains well enough can do it. But he understood his natural quality. He wasn't trying to be a very dominant, attention-seeking person, because he would look really awkward. So he knew his awkwardness, his weirdness, and he used it with a very caring tone. And man, till today, I will never forget. He's the only contestant I remember to this day. Yeah.
Wow. So what I've also picked up here is that, you know, often we look at leaders, it's beyond just having a strong leadership, but even such a, I would say, a trait of empathy. For example, in this case, it can be considered as a very important trait, and that's what differentiates you from the rest, even with your branding done correctly.
Exactly. Empathy is a very underrated tool. In fact, in the past 20 years, it was traditionally, 20 years, in fact, it's only in the past 5 years, it became more acceptable.
Right.
But traditionally, if someone say that, oh, empathy is your strength, they're practically saying that be a social worker and don't earn a lot of money, right? Or you're very emotional, right? And I believe that right now, for many of you, for those who are watching and you find that empathy is your strength, it's your gift, but yet you find that society could see it as a weakness, you know what? Turn it into a strength. Let them love you because of your empathy. That's my advice to many people, and it's a very, very magnetic quality if done right. Very magnetic quality if done right.
Well, I guess it's really how do you, and I think for many people, they do not even know how to switch that on or to even see that as a quality. So I'm so glad we have you on set today, right? Because it's going to make the magic for these people. All right. So Caleb, that's so wonderful sharing. Now, before we come to the end, I just one more question for you. Are there anyone who's kind of like uncoachable, or have you faced any frustrations with people whom you try to help them through personal branding? I saw that smile on your face.
I think in any job that we do, there will always be some level of frustration, from the easiest job all the way to the most intense job. And I believe that mine is no different from any other job out there. The more I do brand coaching, the more I'm realizing that personal brand is synonymous with self-leadership. Personal branding is synonymous with self-leadership. And let me share a little bit more why. Because personal branding is kind of like, I want to position myself as this guy who's great and famous so that people will see me as a leader and it's all fun and good. And yes, that does happen. Right? It happens to me, it happens to my clients as well. However, the extent of which people can see you as a leader is also linked to how you see yourself as a leader as well. And there are many times I find that my clients who get the best results are those who know that their voice matters, are those who are ready to grab the mic and share a learning point that is meaningful and has depth. My clients who tend to struggle the most, and I tend to struggle with them, especially at the start, are those who, in spite learning all the tools and strategies, they don't dare to take any action after that. Right? And one case study, for example, was one of my clients. She paid me a very good four-figure sum over 6 sessions to help with her branding. And she told me she wanted to achieve this, so I told her that I'm the right person, I know I can do it, and that's it. But after 1 month, she wrote only 1 or 2 posts. After 2 months, she wrote another 1 or 2 posts. And those 1 or 2 posts are very forced. I had to remind her, hey, everything okay? Until I couldn't take it. After 3 sessions with her, I realized she was going nowhere. I had a phone call. And I said, let's call her Jane. I said, hey, Jane, we have had this chat before that where are you right now in your branding? You're way off from your goal, and your goal is to be, one of them is to get leads, another is to be inspiring and empowering, so do you still desire to get there? And she's like, yes, I do desire. So I'm like, okay, let's work on a social media post to convey the growth of your brand, right? So we started crafting out an outline on the spot over the phone, and she was like, almost asking for my permission on whether whether the next thing she says is appropriate. Right. It's almost seeking my permission for her life story, and I'm like, I'm not you. I'm the wrong guy to ask for permission. Right. So after a while, I realized something is wrong. I felt that if I were to invest the next 5 to 10 hours to teach her to write better, I don't think she would be writing better. So I said, okay, Jane, let's take a step back. Earlier in our phone call today, you mentioned that you wanted to be inspiring and empowering. Here's my question to you, but you don't have to answer it if you don't feel comfortable. And my question is, do you believe that you are inspiring and empowering? She was silent for 8 seconds. It was the longest 8 seconds of her life. Yeah. And suddenly it switched. Yeah. So a lot of what I do in brand coaching is that whenever I realize there's some level of frustration on my end and their end, and no matter what I do, they seem to not move forward. It is very important. It's part of my program that I take time to take a step back with them and see what are the roadblocks, because these are usually blocks that have been in there for the past decade, 2 decades, and it's preventing them from realizing that they are awesome enough and their voice deserves to be heard so that they can inspire, influence, and impact lives.
Beautiful. Yeah, I guess that's what I started off with this e-course on lesson 1, and really talking about discovering the bugs that we have that's been with us for 10, 20 years. And until we look at that, you know, that we are really ready to be coached. Yeah. And then that's where the magic happens.
Exactly.
So Caleb, before we end, is there anything else that's not asked and you feel it's important that the viewers should know? Have you missed out anything?
That I could go on for hours. I could go for hours and hours. But if I had to just end off with one last statement,
all right,
this would be it. That personal branding is not about you, but it's about being personable to your audience. Personal branding is it's not about the breadth of relationships you can have on social media, but it's about the depth of relationship you can create with a community.
Right.
And once you achieve that, once you realize that personal branding is not about you anymore, you'll find that more and more people keep clamoring you for more and more and more. And this creates a self-fueling energy that allows you to be an authority in their lives.
I see. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And you know, well, because we're all shooting this from home, and I could just hear knocking from my neighbor, and that's a big indicator how important that is, knocking on your door to take note of what you've just shared.
I hope so.
Thank you so much, Caleb. It's been really, really insightful, and everyone really needs to know how important, especially during such times, really rebranding ourselves. How do we stand out from the rest? You know, I think that's really key. So, you know, if someone if someone is looking to get some help, you know, whether I'm an employee or a business owner, and I'd like to explore how that's going to work for me, how can we get in touch with you? Or do you have any upcoming workshops that, you know, people can follow? Would you like to tell us?
Okay. I do have a group coaching, an online group coaching program coming up. Okay. The details are not yet firmed, but that's one avenue. So firstly, if you're even remotely curious about this thing of personal branding, connect with me on Facebook first. That's where Facebook is my playground, right? So connect me on Facebook, Caleb Lau. You see the guy with no eyes and a big smile. That's me.
Curry pop hair.
and the curry pop hair. Yes. So that's one way to reach out to me. Happy to explore what exactly you are looking for, and which areas of my work could best benefit you, whether it's an actual coaching or whether it's just being part of my community where you get to actually learn the tips for free. And I do have my community. It's called the Brand Awesome Community, right? And I share my best stuff with them, and I curate everyone who enters that group, because I'm not here to chase numbers. I'm here to chase high quality people who love what I do and they want to take action as a result of that. So if you were to connect with me on social media, we can explore which avenues will be best for you. But more importantly, let's connect, because it's about starting conversations and building relationships of that, whether it's with me or whether it's with a future prospect or with a future employee who you're hoping to get the attention of.
Right.
Even if you hear the thunder, even God agrees with that.
Alarm, take note of that. All right. So thank you so much, Caleb. It's been so enjoyable to have this session with you. All right.
My pleasure. Yeah.
I hope audience, you're really listening and watching this and taking down important notes, right, from our brand coach. So till then, do check us out on the next series. And meanwhile, I wish everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay calm, and do what you have to do. Okay, so I will be posting this video as well as details to get in touch with Caleb in the post. Thank you so much.
Thank you.